With the tournament circuit in Counter-Strike Global Offensive being so good now, it has never been better in Counter-Strike Global Offensive, arguably never in Counter-Strike. There were a couple of years, 2008, 2010, we had pretty good circuits, but obviously the money wasn't as big, the exposure level of the game wasn't as big, people's salaries weren't as good, we didn't necessarily have all the same kind of tournament formats we knew, a lot of the wrinkles that are being figured out. So things are so good that that's actually one of the reasons why I think people complain about tournaments is because when they say oversaturation, they don't just mean teams playing too much or playing each other too often or tournaments being too often. I think another problem is a lack of variety in the types of tournaments and the way the tournaments are structured. So that's where people start to get burned out. Not me, but some of the more casual people, when they feel like the tournament that's now is very similar to the tournament that's in 2 weeks. Maybe there's like 2 or 3 teams different. And you know a lot of the teams that are good are going to play again at that point in time. And then there's a tournament going to be, like, say, 3 weeks after that might be kind of similar. That's why one of the core factors that I think upsets some fans. I don't entirely relate to that, but I can see that that's a perspective that people share. They just haven't maybe articulated it the same way. And so I'm always trying to think if there's a way that tournament organizers can make their tournament stand out, make it unique in some way. And so one of the ways I've always suggested is use different formats, have like gimmicky events, even take an ESL Barcelona type event. I did a video about this where, you use something unique, like you have a dictator pick the matches just as a one-off fun event. But here's the thing, okay, so tier 1 events are so fantastic now in general. Sure, there's a few qualms, like maybe Pro League gets out to use online qualifications, so some of the top teams, Na'Vi VP might not make it there. But even so, the event themselves are very good, and they certainly deserve to be considered tier 1. Even tier 2 events have gotten pretty good. Like nowadays, DreamHack Winter is a tier 2 event, yet still has pretty good prize money for back in the day. This is a solid event. So outside of majors, then there aren't necessarily events where there's that obvious consensus that this is going to be the best event. Now, sure, there are lots of ways that you can set yourself apart. Like if you do have the best teams, like for example, DreamHack Vegas has done a very good job of this. Some tournaments like Epicenter last year, if you get most of the best teams, that's a really good way to secure yourself like a top tournament spot that people want. And Valve have always obviously left the door open for many people because they've done so many mistakes that are easily fixed that make your event better. Like Valve has randomizers, so you don't have randomizers. That's a massive boon. Valve has very poor seeding. Have good seeding like DreamHack Vegas. People are going to want to watch that tournament. It's got fair groups. It's very well distributed groups. It's got legend spots in majors. Utterly stupid. You're seeding people from months before. It makes supposedly the World Championship very weird in terms of qualification, and then the seeding of the groups, etc. really messes all of that up. So this really gives some of the tournament organizers an in who might not be able to put on an event on the scale of a major, but to have their event competitively be as good or better than a major. But I have an idea that is not even a revolutionary idea. It exists in sports, or something similar has existed in, for example, poker and other games at chess. But I would love to see it implemented in Counter-Strike because I think it would make for a really fun event that at the same time would be very competitive and would allow us to enable us to utilize a different tournament format and really kind of like just show us high-level play. Because everyone probably knows by now who's followed my career, I don't get that jazzed up by most best-of-ones in a group stage. I don't really care about the winner's match, the loser's match. What I care about is series, because there's so much variance in a best-of-one. I want to see a full series. If you beat a top team in a full series and they're playing their second-best map or their best map as their pick, and then the deciders in the middle of both your map pool, now this is really legit. This gives teams a chance to get all the Counter-Strike out their system, to be warmed up, never to just get caught off guard and have 1 or 2 rounds to decide a whole series. There's a lot of opportunities here for great high-level Counter-Strike. So what I would like to see is I would like to see a tournament which is considered the champion of champions. And so my idea here is whoever organizes this tournament, if they indeed can, I understand there's logistical difficulties, etc. Whoever organizes this does not have to get any other tournament's permission. It doesn't matter if ESL want you to call it this or not. It won't matter. But you are going to use their events and everyone's events to seed your tournament, to form your tournament. What you're going to do is ideally towards the end of the year, but it doesn't really matter if you just use a calendar year before, not a calendar year, a 12-month period before a year, is you're going to make a tournament that gathers the 8 championship teams over the last 12 months. Now, depending on who's won how many championships, you can determine that. Like, obviously, someone like last year, you would have invited like SK immediately, they're a shoe-in. You'd have invited like Virtus.pro, get them in. Fnatic, get them in. Astralis towards the end. These teams would have been the obvious ones. Sure, once you get down to like the Cloud9s who like won one event, but they're not that many, then you're going to have to go beyond just championships. You want the champions, but then you're also going to have to figure out, okay, who's a champion but made more semis, and who's a champion but qualified for majors. These would be the ways you distribute it. But ideally, at the end of the year, you'll have 8 teams who either are champions outright, or 8 teams who have champions, and then you have the teams that had a lot of top 4s. Now, there's another way you could do this format. If there isn't 8 teams that are champions, have 4 teams that were champions. It's definitely going to be at least 4, and then do the same system but a shorter one and have it be more in depth. There's only champions playing. But the concept there, because you could also do this with 4 teams and obviously it'd be a much shorter event. But I want the teams that in theory at some point were champions. Now, it doesn't matter if they're not a champion anymore by the end of the year and they're not as good anymore. Just the fact that lineup, or in general, I mean, obviously they could change a player or two, in general, were a champion at some point. Maybe they can get it again at the end of the year when they play all the best teams and it brings it out of them. That would be an interesting gimmick to this, I think. And what you're going to do is we need a tough format because we want to get champions, pit them against each other with no filler, no warm-up against crap teams, and we want it to be big-time CS the whole way. So we want it to be best of 3 the entire tournament. And we also want double elimination. Now, I counted this out. If you have 8 teams and you do double elimination best of 3, you will play 14 best of 3s. Now, that might sound like a lot, right? Until you realize DreamHack Vegas, this tournament I'm at right now, will have 11 best of 3s and all the best of 1s. So we're only talking 3 more best of 3s. And remember, we're going to cut out all those group stage games. Now, I would personally get a week and just spread this over and give a really good fair amount so it wasn't too much for the analysts, it wasn't too much for the fans to take in. So basically, this would be an event, because it's all the elite teams in theory, or over the year at least, you want to watch every match ideally. This is one where you really do want the old school format, watching every single game. Now, if you really want to make this compact, I actually figured it out. You could actually do it in 4 days. You do 4 best of 3s the first day, 4 best of 3s the second day, 3 best of 3s the day after that, 3 best of 3s on the last day. Personally, I would rather spread it out a bit more and probably have 3 best of 3s maximum a day. The good thing is, not only are we going to have an incredibly hard format, an amazing set of teams, the big names, we're going to go all out with production. Because we know it's coming up, and we're going to know by the time it comes up, like nearly all the teams, if not all of them, before it's done, well before, weeks, months before it's ready. We do full feature pieces on every team. What made them so good, what they did over the year, build it up, hype it up, what the good rivalries will be. We do interviews with the key players coming in that can play during the event and during the breaks, etc. We've got hype videos for who the potential champions are. This will be a way where, even though your event, in some senses, isn't like another event, you don't qualify for it, doesn't even have to have the most prize money, we're going to make it all about being the champions versus the champions. That's the thing. So we're going to just get this epic battle. You can also, I would personally do this as well, I'd make it really top heavy and go, listen, you're all champions. All of you think in theory you could win this event. So the winner of the event gets a massive amount. Second place, third place, they get some, they get not bad. I'd give like the last place just a really small amount and make it like the whole vibe is like it's about being a champion. No one gives a fuck about you finishing last and getting 50k. No, that ain't going to happen. Maybe you get like 5k for finishing last. First place is like 300k or something. I'd do it that kind of style. Because again, I'm trying to make it like it's not even about just, we're placing top 4 at all our events and getting good money. No, this is about being the champion at this event as well. So it'll have a prestige aspect to it. You'll know that whoever won it, it'll be very difficult because I have to win all those games. It's double a limb as well. All those best of 3s versus really, really good teams. So it would give it its own unique charm. It wouldn't make you the best team of the year, but it'd certainly be one of the best tournaments to win and one of the hardest to win. So I think this will be a cool gimmick, and any tournament organizer could do it as long as they have the money to fund that sort of thing and set it up. You don't have to get everyone else's permission. You're going to take the teams that are champions of ESL, E-League, whatever it might be, the majors, and you're going to put them into your tournament and use that hype and all those storylines and narratives to make an epic tournament. Now, these things exist in other sports, in other esports games. Doesn't in Counter-Strike so far, but it certainly could be doable. Like I say, if you really were a tournament organizer that could do this, but you don't have as much money, just do a smaller one. Just do the top 4 champions of the year and have them play a double limb bracket like the PGL guys used to do with their leagues, the PGL seasons. Just have that be a double limb bracket for those guys. And then you don't even need as much prize money then. You only have to pay 4 places out. So in fact, if you really want for that one, make it 200k, 100k, 50k, 22k, whatever it might be. This will be a fantastic tournament format, and it would really be one that would stand out even among the Tier 1 tournaments, as it'd have its own unique charm. And it'd be a way where even if you won a tournament early in the year, but then your form had gone to shit, you'd know, right, maybe we can get into that champion of champions, and that'll be our chance for a revival to have one day where we're the best again.